You don't always realize when love starts to fade. Sometimes it doesn't scream out. It just quietly folds into itself and slips away. Night after night, Madison and I lived in a marriage that had lasted 5 years. In the beginning it was vibrant, joyful, full of fire. We had little routines. Friday night takeout, unplanned Sunday drives, endless laughter. Felt like magic we could hold on to forever. But slowly things shifted. At first so subtle I barely noticed, and then suddenly it was obvious. Started small. She no longer sent those midday texts that once lit up my phone. Her hand stopped finding mine in the car. The playful glances in the mirror as we brushed our teeth vanished. I blamed her new job. Long hours, heavy stress. I tried to help. I kept the house in order, paid the bills, cooked meals so she wouldn't return to an empty kitchen. That, I told myself, was love. Being present when your partner is drained. Then came the familiar words. I'm tired. One night, then another. At first I brushed it off, we all get worn down, but soon it was every night. Each time I leaned in for a kiss, reached for her hand under the blankets, hoping for warmth, it was the same reply. Not tonight. I've had a long day. Even cuddling seemed like too much effort. Can we not? I'm exhausted. Weeks became months. I tried not to take it personally. I reminded myself marriage isn't about keeping score. I waited for her to show affection again, to smile like she once did, to hug me just because. But hope slowly turned into quiet pain. My thoughts spiraled. Was I no longer appealing? Did I make a mistake somewhere? Was there someone else? But I never accused her. I wasn't looking for a fight. I just wanted my wife back. One night, sitting on the couch with the TV murmuring, I brought it up gently. Hey, can we talk a sec? She looked over, already irritated. What now? That hurt more than anything. Still I pressed on. I feel like we've grown distant. Miss you. I miss us. She sighed. Brandon, we're adults. We can't always be all over each other. Have deadlines. It's not about you wanting sex. Her words cut deep. I wasn't asking for sex. I was asking for closeness, for tenderness, for proof I wasn't just a roommate paying the bills. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I just nodded. Okay. And that was it. The show went on, and she never reached for me once that night. After that I stopped trying. I turned my back in bed. Came home later. I took calls in the garage. I filled my time with anything but her. Yet, deep inside, a small part of me still wished she'd notice, miss me, sit down beside me and say she missed us too. But that moment never came. One Friday I made one last effort. I took the day off, scrubbed the house, cooked her favorite dish, the pasta from our second date. I lit candles, shaved, wore a crisp shirt. I wanted to remind her of us. She came home late, tossed her bag aside. Why is it so dark? She asked flatly. I made your favorite. Thought we could have dinner together, I said. She barely glanced. Brandon, I'm too tired for this. Can we not? She walked to the bedroom, changed into sweatpants and went to bed. Didn't touch the food. I sat alone at the table. The candles flickered, my plate untouched. That night clarity sank in. Her tiredness wasn't just about work. It wasn't even about me. She had simply stopped trying. She no longer saw me as someone to value. And the worst part, she didn't notice how deeply I was breaking. Lying in the dark, I thought, what happens when the man who gives everything finally stops? That was my turning point. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I decided that if she was too tired to love me, I'd stop living as though I loved her. No more funding her shopping sprees. No more covering her car payments. No more paying all the rent while she saved her energy for everywhere but here. I wouldn't lash out. I would protect myself. Because the truth hit me hard. It isn't rejection that destroys a man. It's realizing he was never a priority. The next morning I canceled her credit card. I moved rent money into a separate account. I sent her a message. We need to split expenses moving forward. Let's talk later. She didn't reply right away, But I knew the comfort she relied on had just vanished. And I was done begging for love. I was investing in peace. There's a silence that carries weight, not emptiness. That's what greeted me the next day. Madison said nothing when her card stopped working. She didn't mention her failed gym payments or her favorite shows. But her face, confused, unsettled, told me she felt something was off. That morning I made breakfast. Eggs, toast, coffee. Just one plate. I didn't pour her a cup like before. She walked in, stared, and asked, "Did you forget to make me coffee?" Her voice carried a hopeful smile, like she wanted things to be normal. I stayed calm. No, I didn't forget. No anger. Just certainty. The voice of a man who had set down a heavy burden. She grabbed a glass of water and went back to the bedroom. That used to be the moment I would chase her, explain, apologize, fix it. Not anymore. Later that day I messaged her again. Even though we're in the same house, we'll split rent and utilities this month. I'll send the numbers. Let me know how you'll handle your share. Direct. Respectful. I had nothing left to give. That night, I heard her clattering in the kitchen. Cabinets slammed, plates banged. A loud show meant to pull me in. But I stayed on the couch, earbuds in, listening to a podcast, unfazed. By the third day the shift began. She cancelled a salon visit, stopped buying her favorite oat milk. Her tone with me changed. Not loving, not yet, but cautious. Aware. For the first time she felt the imbalance. One evening she appeared in jeans and a fitted top, clothes she hadn't worn in months. She lingered in the doorway. Want to order something? My treat. It was the first offer she had made in a long time. I looked at her. I already ate. She stood there for a moment, unsure. I could have waited if you told me. I raised an eyebrow. Madison, you've been too tired for talks like this. Remember? She didn't reply. Just turned away and poured a glass of wine from a bottle I hadn't bought. I kept pulling back, gently but firmly. No more errands for her. No more filling her tank, no reminders about car service. Not out of anger, but out of resolve. I was finished carrying the silent, unpaid weight of love all on my own. And slowly she realized. She began to notice. She started asking. Her voice, once sharp and sure, now trembled with doubt. It wasn't about the cancelled subscriptions. It was the shock of knowing she could no longer depend on me like before. That quiet moment marked the beginning of something bigger. Cracks she had ignored began to show. 5 days later everything shifted. I came home to find the table not just cleared but set. Candles glowed, plates and folded napkins were laid out neatly. The smell of roasted chicken and garlic bread filled the air. Madison stepped out in a beige dress I hadn't seen in years. "Dinner's ready," she said softly, almost shy. I sat and ate in silence. She tried small talk, light-hearted but nervous, almost like it was a first date. "How was work?" "Same as always. I was thinking maybe we could go back to that place by the water sometime." I nodded politely, distant. Her smile wavered with disappointment. After dinner she reached for my hand. "Want to watch something together tonight?" The same woman who once claimed exhaustion night after night suddenly seemed full of energy. I looked at her hand on mine, then up at her. "Funny how awake you are now." She pulled back slowly, not offended, just realizing. She knew I wasn't cold. I was finished. "I didn't realize how much you were doing," she whispered. "I got used to it. Maybe that was selfish." "It's not maybe," I said. She lowered her head, ashamed. "You're right. The truth at last." But it didn't move me. I wasn't looking for apologies anymore. Because when a man finally stops giving, he isn't angry. He's drained. I had mourned in silence months before, lying awake wondering if this marriage could be saved. She was only starting to fight for what I had already buried. That weekend I went out with friends. Came home late to find her on the bed, makeup smudged, dressed up, phone in hand. She looked at me. I said nothing. Just took off my shoes and walked past. "I didn't ask you to," she said, wanting an argument. But she didn't know where to start. The next week things changed. Madison started waking early, cleaning, sending morning texts, wearing perfume again, laughing louder when I entered the room. But it felt staged, not love, just fear. Fear because she finally understood what I had known all along. Love must be returned. Effort must be shared. Her sudden gestures weren't love. They were desperation. I noticed them all, but I didn't feel them. Not the way I once did. One night, she asked if we could go for a drive like before. We cruised through quiet streets, music low, windows open. Back then she'd hold my hand, sing off-key, laugh into the night. Now she sat stiff, sneaking glances like I was a stranger she once loved. "I miss this," she whispered. I nodded, eyes on the road. "Yeah. Do you ever miss us?" she asked. I stayed silent for a while, letting it hang heavy. "I used to," I finally said. "A lot." She exhaled like it stung. "What about now?" Kept driving. "Now I miss the man I used to be when I was with you." That struck her. I wasn't cruel. I was honest. For the first time in a long while, we ended up outside a 24-hour diner we once loved. "Want to go in?" she asked. "I'm not hungry," I said. Back home she sat on the bed. "I know I shut you out," she whispered. "I didn't see how far you'd gone until you were already gone." She wasn't wrong. I had been grieving quietly for months. Love doesn't end in shouting matches or slammed doors. It fades in neglect, dismissal, being unseen. By the time she noticed, I was already empty. Still she tried, gentle touches, soft kisses, even lingerie from our first anniversary. She stood in the doorway, vulnerable. I looked at her, she was beautiful, trying, but I felt nothing. No spark, just exhaustion. "I'm sorry," she said, voice breaking. "I thought I had more time. I thought you'd always be here." I believed her, but I knew her urgency wasn't born of love. It was fear. Fear of losing the man who carried her world. She had mistaken my steadiness for weakness, my devotion for dependence. Now that ground was gone, she panicked. She did everything I had once asked. Date nights, home-cooked lunches, real questions. But the roles had flipped. I was the one dodging now. Maybe next time. One Saturday it broke open. I returned from the gym to find her crying over old photos. "This isn't fair," she whispered, staring at us by the lake. "You didn't even give me a chance." I sat across from her. "I gave you 6 months of chances. I didn't see it. I didn't know how bad it was." "You didn't want to see it," I said. My tone wasn't harsh. It was simple truth. She reached for my hand. "Please. Can we start over?" I looked at her hand and felt nothing but stillness. No anger, no hate, but no passion either. "I'm not mad, Maddie. I'm just done chasing someone who only runs when I reach out." Her tears flowed. "I swear I won't push you away again." I stood, picked up a small bag. "I'm not leaving forever. I just need space." "Where are you going?" she asked. "To rest," I said. "You've been tired for months. Now it's my turn." I didn't slam the door. I didn't yell. I just left. Quietly, the same way I had already left in my heart weeks ago. She stood there crying, finally awake, finally ready, but too late. Because here's the truth. When a man goes silent, it's not because he feels nothing. It's because he felt everything and got nothing back. She begged for another chance, promised she would change. But I had already changed. Quietly. In survival. In self-respect.